Shalom, brothers and sisters, friends and family all over the world. We are living in the last days, and the day of Yahuwah is rapidly approaching. We can see the writing clearly on the wall. The day of Yahuwah is described as a day of darkness, a day of thick darkness and cloud, a day of calamity, a day of destruction. The day of the shofar blast and the alarm is what is described as by the great prophets. We know that the day of Yahuwah is a day where Yahuwah will gather all the goyim, all the nations, all the Gentiles against Jerusalem, that is Jerusalem. We read about this in Zechariah or Zechariah chapter 12 through chapter 14, in which Yahuwah, it is said, will go against all those nations on that day and fight against them as he does in the day of battle. And the fulfillment will be that Yahuwah will be the king over all the earth. Yahuwah echad, shmo echad. Yahuwah will be one, his name will be one. And in Zechariah chapter 14, you read that all the goyim, all the nations afterwards will have to come up to Jerusalem, to present gifts and offerings during the festival called Sukkot. And if they do not appear, there will be a death sentence of no rain on that land. And this is talking about in the time of the Messiah as he is ruling and reigning, for Yahuwah will give him the scepter that we read about in Psalm chapter 2, Tehillim chapter 2, in which the Messiah, the Mashiach, who reigns from Mount Zion, shall dash the nations into pieces with a rod of iron. As we also read in Tehillim chapter 110, this is the ongoing theme, that Mashiach, the scepter of the Messiah, will dash the nations into pieces like a potter's vessel, and he will beat them into subjection. And this is the time that is coming now. And all this is coming to fulfill the words that have been spoken by the prophets of old, so that Yahuwah can have his name esteemed amongst all the nations. For it is written by the prophets Yirmiyahu and Yeshayahu, who is Jeremiah and Isaiah, that the Gentiles, the goyim, shall know that I am Yahuwah. And Yahuwah has also stated that my people Yisrael in that day shall know that I am Yahuwah. In fact, we know that the remnant shall call upon the name of Yahuwah at Har Zion, at the mountain of my Elohim, which is Mount Zion, Mount Zion. For we read in Joel chapter 2, and it shall be that all who call upon the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. But technically the word Yimelet means to narrowly escape, for as we know that there will be great tribulation and there will be great persecution. And we read about the remnant that goes to Har Zion or Mount Zion in the book of Revelation. In fact, the 144,000 go to Har Zion, to Mount Zion, and we read that they are sealed with the seal of the living Elohim in their foreheads, according to Revelation chapter 7. In Revelation chapter 14, verse 1, it says, behold, I looked, and on Mount Zion, I saw a lamb standing, and with him 144,000 who were sealed with the Father's name in their forehead. And who is the Father? Moses told us who the Father is. Isaiah told us who the Father is. And Yahushua HaMashiach, who is called Ha'Nastari, told us who the Father is. The Father is Yahuwah. His name is spelled Yod-He-Wah-He. He is the one who is called the great I am. Ayah Asher Ayah. I am that I am. The one who spoke through the fire to the Israelites. The one who spoke to Moshe, revealing his set apart name, and revealed his name to the patriarchs of old. It is Yahuwah. And this great name must be impressed upon us. How do we know? The book of the Torah, the book of Numbers tell us that the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, the priests, were to place the name of Yahuwah upon the people with a special barakah. And this barakah is Yibarekaka, Yahuwah v'yishmereka, Ya'er Yahuwah panawileka, v'huneka, Yisa Yahuwah panawileka, v'yisimneka shalom. Yahuwah barak you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face to shine upon you and be compassionate to you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you his shalom. And in this way, the scriptures say, this is how you put my name upon the people. So we know the idea is that Yahuwah must want his name impressed upon his people. We further see the concept in Deuteronomy chapter 6, with the great command, the greatest command according to Yahushua HaMashiach, the Messiah. He says it is this: Shema Yisrael Yahuwah Eloheinu Yahuwah Echad. Hear. Shema means to hear, but also to follow through with obedience. Hear and obey, Yisrael. Yahuwah, your Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Wa'abeta et Yahuwah Eloheka, bekol lebebeka, bekol nefesheka, bekol meodeka, which means, and you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all of your heart, with all of your nefesh, which is the word that is often translated for soul, and with all of your meod, which means your excess, with all that you are, with all of your strength. You seek Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your being. The book of Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 4, tells us that when we seek Yahuwah with all of our heart and all of our being, in that day we shall find him. So it is about using all that we are to seek the living one whose name is jealous. The scriptures tell us his name is territorial. Yahuwah will not allow you to worship other mighty ones. He is called Elkanah, jealous El. Hallelujah. That means that he is impassioned about exclusive worship. In the scriptures, we see that Adam knew Hawa, who is his wife, and they bore a child. Every time one of the patriarchs or one of the people in the scriptures were intimate with their wives, it is described as knowing them, because the idea to know is intimacy. So the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant, is described in Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31, and also in the book of Hebrews chapter 8. It is repeated exactly from the book of Jeremiah. And when you read in it, it says, this is the new covenant I make with the house of Israel and Yehudah. It's not like the old covenant, but I'm going to write my Torah in the inward parts. It's not just going to be written on scrolls and in stone. It's going to be written in your hearts, in your inward parts. And then it says that the reason is so that they may all know that I am Yahuwah, that no man will have to teach his neighbor to know Yahuwah, for they shall all know me, from the least to the greatest. That means from the least to the greatest in the kingdom of Yahuwah, they are going to have intimacy with Yahuwah. They're going to have a knowledge of Yahuwah, and his name will be impressed upon their forehead. And the purpose of the Shema, as we read in Deuteronomy, the purpose of this great command to love Yahuwah with all the heart, soul, and mind, is that the scriptures say this will be a sign, an otiot, a miracle, a wonder, ben ha'ainim, between your eyes and in your right hand. So therefore, this is the exact opposite of the so-called mark of the beast. And we know that the mark of the beast is literally the sealing of the beast's children, putting his name upon them, putting his works and ways upon them, putting his words inside of them and sealing them. And there's a lot that could be said about that subject. And I have already said many things about that subject, and for many reasons like that, YouTube has removed several of my videos even more recently, so there's mass censorship about this subject. You are not supposed to know. But you are supposed to know about the seal of the living Elohim, whose name is Yahuwah, and that you should choose life, because Yahuwah leads us in the ways of life. Dawid told us, he said, Shwiti Yahuwah lenagdi tamid. Ki memeni bol emot, which means I have set, I have placed Yahuwah before me forever. Therefore, I shall not, he is at my right hand, therefore I shall not be moved. Notice it again. I have set Yahuwah before me forever. He is at my right hand, therefore I shall not be moved. Shwiti Yahuwah lenagdi tamid means literally, I have placed, I have set, I have considered, I have sought after, I have placed Yahuwah before me, talking about the forehead, talking about the idea of the sealing of Yahuwah. This is how Yahuwah's name is always placed before me. When I think, when I go to do, the name of Yahuwah is placed there. I remember his name. I think upon his name. It helps me to choose life that I might live and to not choose the evil way, the darkness, because when I think and I meditate upon the name of Yahuwah, the path is clear. Therefore, Shwiti Yahuwah lenagdi tamid. I have set Yahuwah before me, before my face always, before me always. Ki memeni, he is at my right hand. Bol emot, therefore I am not moved. That word emot there. Mot is spelled the same way as the Hebrew word for death. Often it is even pronounced this way, mot or mawit. So this is very interesting because I will not be moved, we see as a reoccurring passage in the scriptures over and over and over. I serve Yahuwah, therefore I shall not be moved. I am keeping Yahuwah's commandments, therefore I shall not be moved. We see these kind of statements over throughout the scriptures. I shall not be moved. And that word, to be moved, means to be toppled over, to be knocked over. But it also is the very same spelling of the word for death. And we have to remember this because Yahuwah is life. He is our life and our length of days that we shall read this in a moment. So if we choose Yahuwah, we shall live. Choosing life is choosing Yahuwah. But let me let you in on a little secret that some people don't understand. Those who choose death and destruction and evil, they have also chosen Yahuwah. Because, and many people will wrestle with what I'm about to say here, but read the scriptures carefully and understand that Dawid said that even if I go down to Sheol, into the grave, or into what people call the hell, if I go down there, I cannot hide from you. You are everywhere. And let us examine this passage in Yeshayahu Isaiah, chapter 45. And we're going to start in verse 5. Listen to what it says. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. There is no Elohim besides me. I gird you, though you have not known me, so that they know from the rising of the sun to its setting that there is none but me. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else, forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil. I, Yahuwah, do these. Hallelujah. Yahuwah is the maker of heaven and earth. It is Yahuwah who forms the peace and the evil. Let me take you over to another passage. I want to give you something to contemplate here, my friends, my brothers and my sisters. Choose life that you might live. That is truly choosing Yahuwah. But what I'm trying to basically allow you to see here is that you can't make a choice outside of Yahuwah. He is all there is. He is the only power there is. Every other so-called power is but a mere illusion to your mind. It is not a full reality. Yahushua said to Pilate that you have no authority except that authority which was given to you by my Father. Even the Satan has to appear before Yahuwah. Read the book of Job, chapter 1 and onwards. Listen to this, Tehillim, Psalm chapter 18, verse 26. Listen to what it says. With the clean you show yourself clean. With the crooked, you show yourself twisted. This is speaking of Yahuwah. With the pure, with the clean, Yahuwah shows himself to be clean. But with the warped, with those who are doing what is evil, Yahuwah shows himself to be twisted to them. That's scripture. Because Yahuwah creates the darkness and the light. Yahuwah is the Elohim of life. But he is also the one who has created death. Yahuwah has created light and darkness, and he is the only power. Some of you worship the Satan because you give the Shaitan, the Satan, all this power all the time, talking about him and talking about what he's able to do and the kind of power he has or the kind of authority he has in your life or in the lives of others, blaming the Shaitan, blaming the Satan many times for things that you are choosing yourself, things that you are doing yourself. You choose life or death. Yahuwah is the one in power. Do you think that the Shaitan, the Satan, can fight the living Elohim whose name is Yahuwah? Sure, perhaps he believes so in his own mind. Perhaps he has some kind of wayward arrogance. But remember that when the time is appointed, he appears before my Elohim. My Elohim is the one that should be feared, not the Satan. My Elohim is the one who creates the light and the darkness. Yahuwah is the one who created all that you see, all that was, all that will be. It is Yahuwah who has created what is good. It is Yahuwah who has created what is called, so-called evil. And many people wrestle with this because they don't understand. See, man has eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, so we have this mixed warped perception where we don't quite understand. We can't quite see. Sometimes we see glimpses and we know, but without the Ruach of Yahuwah, we are not in the full truth, and therefore we can be led astray by our own thoughts, by our own ways, by our own emotions, because of this mixed tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Therefore, we are mixed up. But in this world, The world is not mixed up. Darkness is just darkness. What you think about darkness is what you think about darkness. Evil is just evil. Think of the great beasts that Yahuwah has created in the sea, for instance. The great sharks and all the great beings that he has made that we see on the earth, even the beasts, the bears, the tigers, the lions, these great beasts, which can tear you into pieces. Are they evil for this? Does it make them evil? See, we don't understand it properly. We don't understand that it's just light and darkness. It's just as easy as black and white. It's so abundantly clear in the scriptures. Choose life so that Yahuwah does not show himself to be twisted in your life. You ever wondered why things don't quite go your way? The way that you live and you do these sins, and you wonder why one sin seems to bring about all these negative things into your life and how you just can't quite shake the power of it. That's because the power of sin is death. And those things that are all around you that you can't shake are chains, and they are dragging you down to Sheol. And you have to be broke. You have to have those chains broken from your life. And the only way is that he must set you free. Yahuwah must set you free from the inside. It's doing his work from the heart and the inward parts and the thoughts. So therefore it fruits on the outside into your life, into your acts, into your ways. Choose life so that Yahuwah shows himself to be pure with you, and so that he does not choose to be twisted in your life, because you reap what you sow, and Yahuwah is the author of all that is, was, and ever shall be. Therefore it is he who created the light, he who created the darkness. Now let us go over to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1. And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the barakoth and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart amongst all the nations where Yahuwah your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, with all your heart. There it goes again, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then Yahuwah your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the people where Yahuwah your Elohim has scattered you. And I just did an entire lesson about this called The Prodigal Israelites Return. You need to go and watch this, absorb the information. The entire purpose of the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant, was to reach the Israelites, in which it did in the very first century when the Brit Hadashah, when the renewed covenant was sent out to the various nations that contained those Israelites that we read about in the scriptures. That's the reason there are letters sent to Galatia, to Ephesus, to Smyrna. That's why the 7 assemblies in the book of Revelation come from Asia Minor, which is Turkey. Anyway, all over the world, Israelites have been scattered because of their idolatry, and they will be regathered. So go and watch the video, and that will help you to understand. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the heavens, from there Yahuwah your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do good to you and increase you more than your fathers. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed to love Yahuwah. That's what it's all about. To love he who is impassioned, he who is called Elkanah, he who is the set apart one of Yisrael, the jealous one whose name is jealous. He is impassionate. He is impassioned about his name. He is a fiery flame of love about his name. And that is why he said he's going to circumcise our heart and the heart of our seed, so that we love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, so that you might live. That's the purpose. That's the purpose of the Shema, of Yahuwah being in the forehead, of Yahuwah Echad, the one that we love with all of our heart, mind, and being impressed between the eyes and in the right hand, a sign of Deuteronomy chapter 6, the otiot, the miracle, the sign, because it makes us love Yahuwah with all our heart, mind, and being, so that we might live. And this is not just talking about life in this temporal world, even though it is talking about life and the prosperity of this life, but it's further talking about eternal life. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall put all these curses on your enemies and all those who hate you, who persecuted you. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahuwah and do all his commands, which I command you today. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, and the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground for good. For Yahuwah turns back to rejoice over you for good as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim to guard his commands and his laws, which are written in this book of the Torah, if you turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all of your being, for this command, the word command is mitzvot. The word comes from an Aramaic word, or actually it's most likely a Hebrew word, but the people, if you go look it up, they'll say it's an Aramaic word, so I'm just telling you that. And this word is said to be the root, and it means to connect. To connect with Yahuwah is the idea of the command. When you are doing the words of Yahuwah, you are embodying his will on the earth. You are connecting with Elohim. You are connecting to the source of life. You are connecting to the source of all that is, was, and ever shall be, the infinite one, whose name is great and awesome. For this command which I'm commanding you today, it is not too hard for you, nor is it too far off. This same quote is in the book of Romans, by the way. This is quoted exactly, talking about the scriptures, but people don't understand that it's a quotation. And it says, for this command which I'm commanding you today, it is not too hard for you, nor is it too far off. It is not in the heavens to say, who shall ascend into the heavens for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it so that we do it? It is not beyond the sea to say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it so that we do it? For the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart to do it. In your heart to do it. See, I've set before you today life and good and death and evil. Hakayim ve'et hatob ve'et hamawit ve'et hara. So therefore you have literally the idea of what is good, what is the barakah, what is the life, and what is the death, what is the cursing, what is the evil. In verse 16, we read, and that I am commanding you today to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in his ways and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings, and you shall live and increase. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall barak you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not obey, and shall be drawn away, and shall bow down to other mighty ones and serve them, I have declared to you today that you shall certainly perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you are passing over the Jordan to enter and possess. I have called the heavens and the earth as witnesses today against you. I have set before you life and death, the barakah and the curse. Therefore choose life so that you live, both you and your seed, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to obey his voice and to cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days, to dwell in the land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov, to give them. So therefore, we must understand. In verse 19, it says, Habarakah wa hakilala u baharta b'chaim. Bahar means to prove, to try. It doesn't mean to just choose, but it means to further examine. So for when Yahuwah tells you that you are to choose life, he is telling you to examine life. He is telling you to look around and experience life and realize that life is the obvious choice. Choose life that you might live. And you will live when you choose to love Yahuwah with all of your heart, mind, and being, with all of your inward parts, and you choose life. Now we read in the scriptures many times the formula as Yahuwah lives, which is Yahuwah Chai or Yahuwah Chaya. And this means as Yahuwah lives. And many times we see this in a formula as an oath. So we'll see the example when someone is saying, and they're trying to affirm a statement. They'll say, as Yahuwah lives, this or this shall take place. Or as Yahuwah lives, this other prophecy may take place. Or whatever the situation. But they will invoke the idea that Yahuwah is life. And Yahuwah lives. Yahuwah Chai. Yahuwah Chaya. Yahuwah breathes. The word for breath is the same word in spirit in the Hebrew scriptures. It is ruach. It means to breathe. It means to blow, to breathe. And Yahuwah's own name means to breathe and to have life. And it could be said that the very short form Yah gives us the form Chaya, which is life, or in the word Haya, which means to be and to exist. Therefore, Yahuwah gives us the power of life and existence through his own name, and this is powerful. In the Torah, we read the formula often, Mot yomat, which means dying, he shall die. It is usually translated, he shall surely die. So if a person does a certain sin, he shall surely die. If he does this or this, he shall surely die. Mot yomat, which means he dying shall die. So therefore, when we look at this, this is talking about the second death that the book of Revelation speaks of, where it says there in fact is a second death. That is why Yahuwah is telling you eagerly and warning you and has warned you through the word of the prophets who were slain and their blood cries out. And they have warned you and warned you and warned you to be perfect with Yahuwah your Elohim and to choose what he chooses and to love him and to cling to him, for he is your life and your length of days. To the pure he shows himself pure, but to the corrupt he will be corrupt. To the twisted he will be twisted, and he will show himself to be mightier than your will and mightier than your power, and he will break you down and he will make you surrender. And one day every single knee will bow and every single tongue shall confess. So therefore I am here today telling you eagerly, choose life so that you might live.